Hey guys, it's another installment of 316. Today we're gonna do Mark. It's gonna be great.
It's 316, a video series from Benjamin. 316, with a hard rock intro that is pristine. We're gonna study our Bibles in quarantine. 316.
Before we begin, I need to give a real quick trigger warning. Whoa! That was unnecessary. This passage includes gatherings of 10 or more people, and I don't think they were following proper social distancing guidelines. And I'm pretty sure Thaddeus was a close talker. Jesus went up on a mountainside and called to him those he wanted, and they came to him. Are you kidding me? Jesus begins his official relationship with the 12 on a mountain? Now, this isn't too on the nose because I didn't know about this for most of my life, but it definitely does have some echoes of God meeting the people of Israel on Mount Sinai. Do you remember reading about that in Exodus? Or maybe you saw the movie where God frees his people because Charlton Heston won a chariot race? It's Moses. He appointed 12 that they might be with him and that he might send them out to preach. The new 12 are called to the mountain to be sent. And now probably at this point they don't know the full extent of their calling, but that's okay. That's how it usually works. We typically don't know that God's going to send us places when God calls us to a place. And to have authority to drive out demons. Now a brief explainer about demons. When Adam first saw Eve in the garden...
We interrupt this program to save Benjamin. The embarrassment of having the unresearched nonsense he is dispensing at the moment exists on the internet for all eternity. If you would like to read more about this particular subject from a respected source, you should buy or steal The Unseen Realm by Michael Heiser. Your program will resume shortly.
And that's how we ended up with cats. These are the 12 he appointed. Wait a second, there's a list? American preachers love lists. It's like the Bible just gives you a sermon series.
Good morning, church. Today we're going to start a 48-week sermon series examining all of the lists in the Bible. It's titled,
I love my lists.
These are the 12 he appointed. Simon, to whom he gave the name Peter. James, son of Zebedee, and his brother John. To them he gave the name Boanerges, which means sons of thunder. Andrew, Philip, Bartholomew, Matthew, Thomas, James, son of Alphaeus, Thaddeus, Simon the Zealot, and Judas Iscariot, who betrayed him. Now, before we get into the meat of this passage, I do think it's unfair that most of these guys don't have nicknames. So we're going to read through it again with an official nickname commentary. Simon, to whom he gave the name Peter. James, son of Zebedee, and his brother John. To them he gave the name Boanerges, which means sons of thunder. Andrew, who they called Peter's brother. Philip, a.k.a. Cheese Stick. Bartholomew, also known as Carl, with a K. Matthew, the Gospel of. Thomas, the Pouter. Doubter is actually a textual variant. James, son of Alphaeus. No, not you. I was talking to the other James. Thaddeus. They ended up calling him Chad, and he hated it. Simon the Zealot, and Judas Tiny Hands Iscariot, who betrayed him. It's been pointed out before, but this is not an exceptional group of men. It's fishermen and tax collectors and fishermen. They had a tendency toward violence. Hey, can we call down fire from heaven? And they rarely understood fully what Jesus was talking about. Yet here we are 2,000 years later, following Jesus because this band of misfits was so brave to go into all the world and change things for Jesus' sake. To see how much Jesus impacted his disciples, take Peter, for example. You just go to his first letter to all the Christians scattered throughout Asia Minor. He says in chapter 2 to submit to all of those who are in authority, the governors, the rulers. Submit to them. The craziest thing about this verse is that just a few years earlier, Peter was chopping off ears in a garden.
And it's not that he went from fearless
I hate ears.
to timid.
Make sure you don't speed on the roadways.
What actually happened was that God, through Jesus and the power of the Holy Spirit, transformed Peter from a place of cowardice to a place of courage. You can tell that Peter is just a coward with a sword because after he gets done flailing in the garden, he follows at a distance. And then he lies to save his own skin. You see, cowardice is just swinging your sword wildly, hoping bad things don't happen to you because in the end, you know you can't handle them. Christian courage, on the other hand, is when you stand confidently in the power of the Holy Spirit, in the deep-rooted faith that you've grown over the years, knowing full well that the victory of Jesus found in the resurrection and on the cross and on the throne, that the victory of Jesus is greater than any defeat the world can throw at us. I think Peter's a pretty good example in the year of 20 Corona. I can obey the rules set by my governor and by my local authorities. I'm not gonna make a big show of breaking those just to show that I'm really a Christian. But I also will not have fear at this or at any other time because I have faith that Jesus's victory is bigger than any defeat. That Jesus's death, his resurrection, his kingship rules in every circumstance. Sometimes it seems like we understand bluster and bloviating to be a virtue.
That guy says what he thinks.
Yeah, but I don't think he thinks about what he thinks.
I like it.
But it usually is just a giant sword we're flailing about in a garden, trying to hide that we're actually pretty scared. Peter knew that true faith looks like calm courage, like submitting even whenever the one you're submitting to means you harm, like turning the other cheek. And he knew this because he learned it from the actions and teachings of Jesus. And the same Messiah that called Peter and changed Peter calls you and can change you. Today's the day you lay down your fear and pick up a faith that knows that the cross, the empty tomb, and the throne of Jesus is greater than anything that's trying to take you down today.